veteran with the United States Army National Guard, and she started her field training, and she is doing a great job. She's jumped right to it. Thank you, Kristen. And next up is Hunter Lake. Hunter comes to us, obviously he's local. He was a Seaford Volunteer Fire Department employee, and lives in Birchville with his wife, who's also a Seaford police officer. And they were sharing with me that they're extremely happy to have graduated from the police academy and to be here now. Is that right? We still call them here on their day off. so thank you very much.
Thank you. We are thrilled to meet you guys, and very fortunate to have you as part. Next on our agenda, is public comments. Do you have anybody here for public comments? No public comments. Okay. We'll keep it moving. Do we have any correspondence? Sure, we do not. Public hearing.
This code change, and it's specific in your package there.
case. when we're already metering the water. We're already accounting for metering. Just, in this iteration,
So, all this was for was to put in, to install meters on in-ground irrigation systems. So if we know you have an in-ground irrigation system and you already put a pit in, then we're going to put a meter in. As we identify in-ground irrigation systems, I think it can go either way. That, you know, if you put a meter in and meter the whole house, you know, and catch the irrigation as well, I don't have a problem with that. I just know that we've had residents, property owners call in when they get their first bill that the sewer on why it's, they just want to know why. So there's a little bit of a shock, but to recoup the cost, it's probably true.
There's no kind of grace period or timeline or anything as to when that's going to be required, or?
Let me just ask a couple questions. So what the record came in this presentation last time, he wanted to start building irrigation systems that had meters in currently, or mid-to-installed. Is that correct? Correct. So it's all specific, you have to meet that criteria specifically. That's what we're talking about. So $71,000, this is gonna be a huge bill. So we can offer them the option to install the meter to reduce the sewer portion of the bill. And the resident can decide at that point, do I want to install a meter for this $4,000 for a meter? I believe that's correct. But it's a number. They can make that decision. They can also make a decision to not use the irrigation system. That's up to them. Or as they can also work with their system. For $75,000 a month. So they can stay below that. We're not looking to make this at this juncture. Am I correct with that, Mr.
Yeah, this was, the last meeting was already said, proceed with billing for the sewer. This was just the mechanism of how we do it, allowing us the set before that is already our code. So if you want to strike that, change that
An additional meter and pit that shall separately service the irrigation system, only as described in subsection. Pretty clear. Anybody who's on the irrigation system is gonna have to have
correct with the second?
So I just think many customers who are faced with that, you know, am I going to put the capital out? Or am I just going to put the hose up?
Yeah, I think though, by striking that last sentence, which is what I'm actually here to do, that would even allow us to install a meter. Because right now, we don't bill
we should not be constrained.
Okay, yeah, no, I agree. So, I mean, we could either, you know, attack it two ways. If you want to attack this, you know, approve or move forward with the strike through that we have now to allow a meter to be installed, I can definitely come back and wordsmith and come up with some new language.
Could I ask a question?
Sure.
Is there any way that for long-term residents, say like 5 years or whatever, that you could grandfather them to make it fair?
So I think, in essence, there's a group of customers currently that are grandfathered, right? So what Mr. Mears' intention was to read meters that are installed or can be installed with irrigation systems. So it's a group of customers that have the infrastructure to bill it. The people that do not have these meters, there's a large group of people that have no meters, period. You're not intending to go after them at this juncture, correct?
With irrigations or without irrigations?
With irrigation.
Well, with irrigations, we were going to work towards getting them to install pits.
In a period of time.
Yeah, in a period of time, yeah, sure.
Well, if a contractor comes and gives a proposal to a property owner and they come in and dig up the yard and put an irrigation system in, you're going to compel them to put in a meter.
Right now, they have to.
Yes.
They have to.
So that's,
A pit, not a meter, I'm sorry. They have to
well, a
put it.
pit. So, but you're going to start sometime in the near future measuring,
Yes.
Correct.
right? Metering. And so that customer could choose to say, well, I want to put 2 meter pits in, or I want to roll the dice that it's going to be more economical for me because I'm not going to spend that money. I'm just going to put the 1 meter in and the spool for the house.
Right.
You know, I just think if we're accomplishing our goal of measuring, of beginning to measure and manage the water system, that we should not be compelling the consumer to go to that extra expense. So I will stipulate that to agree to this language as long as we come back and make a change to the existing language further.
Yeah, I could do that.
Because I'm just not, I'm not an attorney, and I can't go through this paragraph and smith it out.
I think I would write it,
here-
I
right
think
here.
I would write it so it would give them a choice,
That's
you know.
exactly what should be done in my mind.
But in there, they would know that they would have to pay the sewer on that.
Well, yes, I mean, it would be an educated, you know, they would have to make an educated, say, you know, and it goes month to month. I mean, one month they might, you know, somebody who fills a pool, namely me, doesn't do it with an irrigation system. They do it with a wall hydrant on their
Right.
house that's metered, and they're gonna use the sewer rate. If I don't have a meter, I have the standard residential water service right now, but in the future, that will be the case. I'll be, you know, anybody that fills their pond or their fountain or the pool is going to be charged at the water and sewer rate anyway. So I just urge us all to look at it a little differently.
So, quick point of order, if tonight's the first reading on this matter, if we come back with revised language next time, would that be considered the first order again, because revised language, or does it stipulate the second reading?
Yes, sir. My suggestion, this is not just a minor change. And in a minor change, I would say potentially we could just do that. This is a change, a large change. So my suggestion would be, at this meeting, we table it, ask the director to come up with some language to address this concern, if that's the will of council, and then we'll start our process at the next meeting with first reading and second reading again, because it's drastically changed.
10-4.
Would be my view.
Make sure we're following our paces.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Are there any additional questions from council on this matter? Okay.
I just would
Thank
like to
you.
thank you for your
Thank you very
consideration.
much.
Thank you, Burley. Okay, we're going to move on to new business number 2.
Okay, our building official's here, Mike Bailey. He's going to walk us through these changes to the Chapter 15 of our zoning ordinance.
Good evening, Mayor and Council.
Good evening, Mike.
Good evening.
So for this code amendment for Chapter 15, there's actually 3 different sections that we're modifying. First one would be Section 15.7, the definitions. So that is the definition for a single-family dwelling, or a family. So we are changing it to 5 or fewer adults and minor children in their care living together in a dwelling unit. And this will go in hand with the next one, the next ordinance change for the buildings code. This is to kind of make everything line up and match and remove the wording of no more than 3 unrelated people in a dwelling unit, because we're getting some complaints about overcrowding in some units, and that is hard for us to determine who's related and who's not without getting a whole bunch of legal documents from them. We go in there, it's overcrowded, we're all family, we're all related, we can't prove it. So we're making some modifications to the definitions for that, and then more in the buildings code to tighten that up so we can have some measurable things that we can go in the units, actually measure and say this is how many people you're allowed in this dwelling unit. So the next amendment in Chapter 15 is Section 15-65, temporary sign regulations. This is adding language for election campaign signs. 'Tis the season, they're everywhere. So we didn't have any specific language in the code addressing these signs. Just we had something in there for temporary signs that had to just be 18 inches from the curb line. That's all we had. So this is to clean it up, and it reads as election campaign signs shall be placed on private property with the permission of the property owner no more than 30 days prior to the election. Candidates may also place signs at city-owned polling places like City Hall the day of the election in conformance with the Delaware Department of Elections laws and with the approval of the election judge. And signs at polling places shall be removed within 24 hours of closing of the polls, and all other campaign signs shall be removed within 30 days following an election. This is really close to the code the state has for areas outside city limits. So it's just giving us some leverage here for these signs that they have to be gone within a certain amount of time after the election and only set up a certain amount of time before the election. And then the last section we are changing in Chapter 15 is Section 15-74, off-street parking standards. This is item number 3 for garden apartments and townhouses. So we're modifying that to go from the requirement for 2 parking spaces per dwelling unit to 3. So we're going to require 2 parking spaces per unit as close as the unit as possible for apartments or on the unit's private property for townhomes, plus 1 space in a common parking area located on the property accessible to all the residents of the property. So this should address some of the parking issues we're having at some of these multifamily complexes. So they'll have like a parking lot nearby accessible for the whole complex. So you have some overflow parking for event, people having parties and things like that. That's all for this section, if there's any questions.
Okay. Thank you, Mike. Are there any questions from council regarding new business number 2? Okay. If there are no further questions, I'll accept the motion on new business number 2.
Well, this is just the first reading.
Oh,
We
excuse
do
me.
have a motion.
Okay, I'm
sorry.
The
So
mayor's
it's a public
correct.
hearing?
We do, yes, sir.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to set the public hearing for the proposed changes to Chapter 15 of the Municipal Code, amending Section 15.7 definitions, Section 15-65 temporary sign regulations, and Section 15-74 off-street parking standards that would revise the definition of a family, place restrictions on election signs, and election campaign signs, and increase the parking requirements in R3 high-density residential zoning districts to 3 parking spaces per dwelling unit on September 24th, 2024.
We have a motion from Vice Mayor Henderson. Is there a second?
Mr. Mayor, I'll second.
We have a second from Councilman Quillen. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, it passes unanimous. And we'll move to new business number 3.
Excuse me. So this is an amendment to Chapter 4 of the code relating to buildings. And the sections that we are modifying in this is Section 4.3.6, the definitions. And there's a couple definitions that were modified. The first one being for dwelling. And we're just making that for one-family dwellings, a building containing 1 dwelling unit. And for 2-family dwelling, a building containing 2 dwelling units. At the end of that, we just deleted some language that referenced the no more than 3 unrelated lodgers and boarders. So, and we're going to fall back to that same, also the family definition, 5 or fewer adults and minor children in their care living together in a dwelling unit, subject to the requirements in Section 4.3.11. And that's the next section that will be modified. And most of this stayed the same. I just modified some of the square footages, and this lines up with the ICC codes that are published. We're modifying the area for sleeping purposes to say every room occupied for sleeping purposes by 1 occupant shall contain at least 70 square feet of floor area, and every room occupied for sleeping purposes by more than 1 occupant shall contain not less than 50 square feet of floor area for each additional occupant thereof. So with this code change, removing that language for no more than 3 unrelated, we can say the max is 5, but then we can fall back on these square footages that we have, and then we can measure the entire unit plus the bedrooms. If it's a small unit, you're capped out at 3 or 4, not the 5. A larger house, you can get 5 in there, no problem. But this will help us on some of these units that are just jam-packed full of people. Whether they're related or not, 5 is the max.
Okay. Are there any questions on new business number 3?
Comment.
Yes.
There's a house close to where I live that I mentioned earlier, Sunday on the way to church, 7:15 in the morning, 10 cars in the driveway, which is, doing the math, is a physical impossibility to meet
Exactly.
code.
Yeah.
So,
Are there any more questions or comments from council? Okay. There is no required motion for new business number 3.
Thank you very
Thanks, Mike.
much.
All right, moving on to old business. Do we have any old business?
We have no old business,
We
sir.
have no old business. Moving on to a reminder of meetings and new meetings.
So just a couple. Friday Night Live is September 20th at 5 p.m. in the grass lot behind City Hall here. DMEC Annual Dinner at Bally's Dover Casino and Resort, September 18th from 5 to 8 p.m. I know several people are going. That's all I have, sir.
All right, we're going to kick off liaison reports. Public Works and Wastewater Treatment Facility with Councilwoman Grasso.
In the past 2 weeks, Public Works has had to replace a number of meters. There's at least 5 or 6 listed there. They painted the curb in front of the event center at Ross Station to help with parking issues there. They have also been straightening signposts, doing property cleanups for code. They have been installing LED warning lights on one of their trucks. They've repaired water leaks at Williams Pond Park, and they have continued their progress with the new Pine Street, or the Pine Street Lift Station project. They have also, in wastewater treatment and compost, have received estimates for the cleaning of the influent interceptor, They're awaiting scheduling that, which should help with the flow, help improve the flow, especially during times when there's a great deal of rain. They are waiting to hear from DENREC about a full-scale trial use of a different chemical for disinfection of units, which should help us cost-wise, would be much more economical for us while still maintaining the cleanliness that we need. They have started reviewing prints for primary upgrades. They have a bad bearing in the oxic mixer number 3. It's an unused train, so they are evaluating how to get that fixed or replaced. Mixers usually run 24/7. This one's been running since 1998, 24/7. So the fact that it has run that long is actually pretty good. And they are looking at requests for discharge limitations. One of the requests from Brainerd LLC. They are continuing to camera their sewer mains. They installed a water service on Pond Street, or things that are coming up these few weeks. They're also going to be replacing some hydrants and continuing to perform maintenance as needed at the wastewater treatment facility as well as the lift stations. And that is my report.
Thank you very much. I'll move over to Fire and Police with Vice Mayor Dan Henderson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. There's 2 complete reports, one from Fire Chief Wilson and one from Police Chief Kraft. Start with Chief Wilson's report. There's the total department responses to date for 2024 are 4,024 calls for an average of 15.9 per day. If you look above, there's the September calls are a little bit off of the average per day, but for EMS and for fire, but that's always subject to change. Significant incidents, there was one out of the city on September 1st for a residential fire on Hastings Farm Road. All apparatus are currently in service. Ladder 87 received its annual certification for 2024. The next training will be Wednesday, September 18th for vehicle rescue evolutions at the Station 71, the pad. It's they have a facility there at Blades. The next chart you'll show the cumulative hours for training and in service. Under EMS, all ambulances are in service. The ambulance A87, the order is signed into REV, and I forgot what that acronym means.
Sorry, I apologize.
For I think it's something about delivery for June 26th, June 2026. Ambulance vendors have been contacted to provide demo ambulance pricing and drawings for options for the department. They have another ambulance that may be in the queue due to aging and some maintenance problems, so that may need to be replaced soon. A reminder that ambulance fund drive petitions or solicitations have gone out. I don't recall seeing mine yet in the mail, but look for it. It's unmistakable, and please take the time to support the ambulance fund drive. Firefighter and EMT Hardesty, Durr, and Whaley have all started their Instructor 1 classes at Delaware State Fire School, and EMS billing is reflecting an increase based on the temporary increase in Medicaid. You might recall the last meeting, maybe it was 2 meetings ago, where They got an increase in funding from about $80 per run for Medicaid to almost 300 now. So, and that's been a real boost because at $80 per call, you're operating pretty much at a loss. So they also got some good news that they'll be able to retroactively submit billing to the first of the year. I think I recall them saying that to January 1. So that would help them recoup expenses for the 2024, for the year 2024. Under news and events, Assistant Chief Trevor Holmes is graduating from the Washington, D.C. Fire Academy on Friday, September 20th. He is in town a lot. If you see him, give him some congratulations. That was an 18-month training, and it's rigorous training. So if you encounter him, please extend your congratulations to him because he's worked really hard at that. The Delaware State Fire Conference is September 16th through the 19th in Dewey Beach. Several fire department members will be in attendance. The Northside Parking Lot Audit and Bollards project has been completed, and the front apparatus pad had some lines painted on them on the interior. There, over the past several years since I've been police and fire liaison, I've heard of instances where there's been backing accidents. Not many, but they are, there's 2 or 3 that I can recall offhand. And so this will increase safety in back in the large pieces of equipment in. According to Chief Wilson, these are fun facts. Personnel totals averages for response in January 1, or since January 1, 5.8 personnel, an average of 5.8 personnel on the apparatus responding, and 1.9 personnel on standby at the station. So that's a total of 7.7 people on average responding to every call. Drilling down into it, the 5.8 personnel, that's an average number, can't have 0.8 persons, but most of them are career. They're career personnel. Only on average, maybe 2 of these responders were volunteers. The 1.9 average, most all of them were volunteers, so they were coming in late. The responses were from people who were or career people who were already in the station being dispatched. So that points to, I think his point is that they need more volunteer participation. Fire responses from this time last year are at a 5% increase. EMS responses from this time last year are at a 7.6% increase. So this time of year, September and October, is fire prevention season. So they're starting to ramp up their prevention activities and their events. So look for some more activity out of them. I will say that it didn't make the report, but in our conversation at the liaison meeting, Chief Wilson did say that through proactive measures taken by the administration at the fire station, they've reviewed some applications, and they're really starting to make some headway at getting more volunteers. So hopefully they've got enough that it's going to bust the budget for their equipment and training. So they're going to have to meter these new people in as funding permits. So that's a fairly good problem to have because we've been in a deficit for volunteers, and it's nice to hear good news about they're able to get some volunteers. Moving on to the police department, you'll see the chart that Chief Kraft has provided of data since 2020, and the 2024 data is active and will continue to grow. So you can compare it to the previous periods. We're almost into the fourth quarter of the year, so you can extrapolate those numbers out to see how it's going to fare with 2023. Under all crimes, there's 108 total, and you'll see the distribution between felony, misdemeanors, violations, civil, and other. The clearance rate did drop slightly over the last period. It's 85%, but still it's a respectable number. I think the chief remarked that anything over 80% clearance rate was something that you could be proud of. Under additional crime data below, there's 12 complaints with a 58% clearance rate. You'll see the pending actives, the pending inactives, aggravated assault, and so on, the distribution of those complaints. 15 drug crimes with 15 adult arrests. 0 overdoses encountered in this last period. Under traffic, there's 148 traffic contacts with 63 citations and 6 warnings. 4 DUI for alcohol, 0, none of them were for crash related. 35 crashes, 1 injury accident on Virginia Avenue and Market Street, North Market Street. 6 non-reportable and 28 reportable accidents. There were hit and runs all along private property during this period. And you'll see a list of significant incidents down here, and I'll let you review those. I will call attention to the one on September 4, which gives credit to the cadets and some others who were really proactive. During a routine bicycle patrol on Cedar Avenue, cadets observed Marvin Newbill walking and recognized him from a previous incident with an active capias for FTA. Failure to appear. There. I'm learning. I'm forgetting as soon as I learn. When cadets attempted to contact him, Newbill fled on foot but was apprehended without further incident. He had thrown an object into a wooded area, which was later found to be 4.2 grams of cocaine. Newbill was arrested for possession with intent to distribute and resisting arrest, arraigned on the charges and capias and committed to SCI. So those were the 2 cadets, Brumley and Morales. So, kudos to them for, they got assistance from patrol officers, which were unnamed at the end. So under administration, the chief and his administration have been busy at meetings, statewide and local meetings. On September 3rd, there was a meeting with Neighbor Good Partners for a discussion on homelessness. The chief attended that meeting in particular, and there's Chief, what was the organization that you were meeting with on the 4th to discuss the enhanced penalties? Was that the Chiefs Association?
No, sir, that was an initiative, proposed bill that Chief Johnson from Dover PD brought, Chief Campos from Wilmington PD, and myself from Seaford. We wanted to have chiefs from each county, along with a representative from each county.
Okay, so, thank you, Chief. The meeting occurred to discuss penalties for crimes related to shooting into structures. Apparently, this is a huge problem in the city of Wilmington, and it's not unheard of here. You may recall several years ago, shootings into a building on Pine Street, and then there was, in Bel Air, there have been some incidences recently, so they're meeting to discuss legislation about those types of crimes. There's usually another crime being committed, but that's just something else because you're endangering somebody that's inside the structure. Community events, I will highlight Seaford Night Out is on October 10th, and there's 5 to 7. There's going to be more to come on that with more details to come. So the police department had officers and admin at the Seaford School District welcome back, and there were also admin and officers and cadets present for the Montessori student welcome back last Friday. Or no, it wasn't last Friday. What
Montessori was.
Montessori, yeah. Okay. And you'll see the list of training that's taken place. We met the new officers this evening, attended their graduation at the Dover Municipal Academy, attended this swearing in, and Detective Sergeant James is conducting FTO training and orientation for the new officers. I will leave it at that. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I'm going to move over to the Legislature Department and Councilman Mike Bradley.
Met with Charles and Bill this morning. They worked on the streetlights at Little Leap Park. Called in Miss Utility after troubleshooting of Williams Pond Park street lamps. And they failed, and they identified the issue and later repaired them. Trimmed trees in various locations around town. Installed new bollard lights around the Veterans Memorial at Kiwanis Park. Well, I didn't know what a bollard was, so I looked it up on the computer, and they are just track lighting around the sidewalk. Moving forward with Nylon Boulevard street lamps, Bill met with sales rep for project and met with the city electrical engineer on this project for the lighting on Nylon Boulevard. There should be some shrub markings on Nylon in the near future to clean up a bit. And we will be attending the DEMIC annual dinner next week. As a sidebar, I heard they were offering shuttles to fairways. Just kidding. Respectfully submitting, Mike Bradley.
I think you got Director Mears back on that one. We're going to move over to Code, Parks and Recreation. Councilman Quinn, I don't know how you're going to follow that one.
I was going to say, how am I going to follow that one?
Good luck. Good luck.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll start off with codes. Nothing really new here. We still have 255 permits that have been issued since the beginning of the year. That is 14 more than we had in our last report. Rental licenses are staying steady at 1,796. Rental inspections are being scheduled and completed still. Doing routine inspections for ongoing projects. Doing violation inspections throughout the city. I was going to say something, I better not. Performing plan reviews for new permits as well. Large projects, we still have Muirfield 1, Phase 3, with 51 homes, lots being put in there, but Phase 4 has been started, and site work has been started there as well. Bel Air, and we're still having constructions there, 10 lots put in there, but 5 more permits are ready to be issued in that project. Western Sussex campus, also still working on sidewalks and landscaping there, that's coming along pretty good. And if you haven't ridden by the Nylon Capital Shopping Center, you will see there's a lot more demolition going on. The back part of the project has begun, and there's been a lot of the buildings that have been torn down there. Also, they have started working inside the community or county bank and starting to work on the county bank in there. And Taylor Professional Center, the building under construction, and it's moving along, and the framing's all up, and that project should be completing in the near future. That's all I have for the codes report. I'll move on to Parks and Rec. A lot of activity going on here, with everything going on in the fall. So they've been busy preparing all the fields out there at the sports complex, getting ready for all types of activities out there. They've removed and trimmed trees and shrubs in another park for a better visibility in the storm water basin there. Repaired fence post at Hooper's Landing and also at the Oyster House Park. Softball slow pitch men have been in the second week now, so that's going on, and they have, I think, had 8 teams participating in that. Held second and final week of the adult pickleball clinic. I was there to present and hand out pickles to all the participants, and there's all the participants sitting up there. I think there's like 35 all in total. I don't know if we're all there in that picture, but we had 35 participants come out, and really nice group of people, and really good event there that happened there. Also, we've been sorting and distributing jerseys for flag football. Received a donation from Pohanka Toyota in Salisbury for the flag sponsor. So that was a big boost in helping us get equipment for the program, and so that was a really nice donation that we received from them. Participating in welcoming back students at the first day of school at the middle school and at Fred Douglass. Worked on budgeting, scheduling for part-time parks employees for remaining fiscal year of 2025 season. Also worked on the logistics to move Seaford tomorrow's Friday night live event on October 11th, not to interfere with the Seaford Homecoming Parade on October the 18th. A lot going on here. Reviewed small irrigation repair at Kiwanis Park and worked with the electric department for their work on the flagpole project. Prep the fields again for this upcoming week here. And Friday Night Live, we participated in that, completed routine grass cuttings throughout the city. Held the first week of the flag football and youth this past weekend, which I wasn't able to be there, but I heard that there was a lot of people out there at the sports complex. So that's good to see that sport complex being full like that. That's great. They have scheduled pictures for the for the soccer program and also the flag football program. Registered for trunk or treat for the fall festival at Ross Mansion on the 20th of October, and the Boys and Girls Club on the 25th of October. Reached out to Birmingham Gallery 107 and Macklin Brewing for a potential event idea for 2025. And assisted Seaford tomorrow with their Friday Night Live event on 9/6. That's my final report.
That's it?
That's it. That's all.
All right, that's it.
I'm almost as long as Mr. Henry.
I'll say, keep going, you'll pass the vice mayor. There's a lot of good things going on in the city of Seaford. A lot of good things. Sent out a few thank yous yesterday. As many of you know, primary elections here in our community, Seaford specifically, takes a lot of people, a lot of hours to work those polls. Very appreciative of those individuals who are out there in order to allow us to host these elections here locally. Really appreciate you, and very thankful to not only the council but also city employees coming in early, staying late on days like today, having the meeting start at 5:30. Sometimes not ideal for a lot of people. Everybody made it here, and I really appreciate your time and flexibility. And with that, I will set the motion to go into executive session.
So moved.
Motion from Vice Mayor. Do I have a second?
I second it.
Second from Councilman Bradley. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All right. Thank you. Good night.